Jazz and Beyond.
Where the standards are always hot.
And the mood's just right.
On 702
and K-Talk.
Jazz and Beyond, Nothemba with you. Welcome to the second hour where you want to feel at home with what's familiar, with what's heartwarming, with what's surprising, intriguing, new, fresh, and of course, known and unknown sounds of jazz. And of course, we have in studio our guest for this Sunday, and this is Guido Spannocchi. Yeah, I've said it right this time. And this is the acclaimed saxophonist and composer who is now based in London, originally from Austria, and is in the country. And how you doing, Guido?
Yeah,
I've got right.
Yeah, Guido, yes.
Guido.
Yeah, very good.
Welcome to Jazz and Beyond.
Well, thank you very much.
My first question is the most important question.
Please.
And be very careful how you answer it.
Yeah.
You are London-based.
Correct.
Do you support Arsenal?
Well, between you and me, I'm not really into football. Can you imagine?
You are so disappointing.
Very sorry.
I mean, you've been in London now for
15 years.
For 15 years.
Yes.
You don't support football.
Yes, can you imagine?
What do you support? Outside of music?
Outside of jazz music. Maybe classical music.
Still music.
Exactly.
Nothing sporty or anything.
Not really. I don't really follow sports, unfortunately.
So when conversation about football and other sports, you just walk out the room.
Yeah. I go to the bar and say,
call me when it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, welcome to Jazz and Beyond. This is where you come for the jazz and then you stay for a good time. Yeah. And welcome to South Africa. Why are you here?
Well, yeah, this is long. I'm going to keep this story very short, but I've been trying to get to South Africa for over 10 years.
Ooh.
It's been in the works for a long time, and the person who's kind of, without him knowing it, responsible for me wanting to come to South Africa is Herbie Tsoaeli, the bass player, because when I first came across his album African Time, which was about 10 years ago or so, I think I've heard it.
Brilliant album.
Exactly. I thought, as a musician, you're exposed to a lot of music and you hear a lot of music, and some things just stick out completely. And when I first heard that album, I was so struck. It was nothing short of a revelation. So I then thought, who is this person? Where is this music from? How can I find this person? And then, life happens and you go your ways, but it was always in the back of my head. And then eventually things lined up due to also other friends, and this is kind of responsible for me being here finally after all this time.
All this time. And what was your impression on arrival? And also just engaging and experiencing, you just came this morning from Cape Town.
Exactly.
And Cape Town and Johannesburg. I don't know if there's much you can say in a couple of hours about Joburg, but I'm sure you can. What has been your experience and your response to what happened in Cape Town with your jam sessions? And
yeah, well, so the thing, kind of to this other story about Herbie, and then the thing is, are we going to meet up, or are we going not to? Is it going to happen or not? And then I did a workshop in Durban at UKZN, and I got in touch with the pianist Nduduzo Makatini, who I know from a few years back in Paris.
Okay.
And I said, Nduduzo, thank you so much for coming out. Great to see you. Love your music. There's a person I'm trying to get hold of, and maybe you know how to get hold of this person. It's Herbie. And then he said, yeah, you just have to give him a call. Here's his number.
Yeah.
Then I gave him a call, and Herbie said, well, I'm probably going to be in Johannesburg while you are in Cape Town, so we may not meet. And I thought, it's so close, but is it going to happen? Yeah. So eventually, luckily, plans changed. Then I managed to meet him up in Cape Town, which was last week. So we finally met last week. I think it was Monday. Yeah, so we met on Monday. We're chatting, and then on Tuesday we had a bit of a jam in a bar, and now we're going to record some things. Hopefully tomorrow, probably in a studio with a young pianist and a drummer. So that's happening. And in terms of difference between, so this is like a dream come true for me, because Herbie for me is like a seminal figure of influence.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it's like I don't want to sugarcoat this because it's really amazing. And because to your question, the difference is I think every city that I've seen, I've been to Pretoria, I've been to Durban, I've been to Johannesburg, and I've been to Cape Town. And I think every city is just completely different. You wouldn't be able to compare them. So people ask me, what's your favorite place? And I'm thinking, I don't know if I have a favorite place. How would you even compare these places? You know,
They are so different.
Yeah, it's completely different. I do think, I mean, Cape Town is very, you know, what can I say? It's very Western in a way. It feels kind of European. I was making this joke with a friend last week who said, yeah, you see, when you come to Cape Town, it's like a European city. And then I say, well, I don't jump on a plane for 10 hours to be in a European city. But yeah, I mean, I did love it. I did love it in Cape Town. I do love it in Johannesburg. And I really think Durban, I haven't seen too much of Durban. I've only been there for 3 days, but it's a great city as well, yeah.
Well, you've seen a lot in a short time.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping those experiences have inspired whatever's going to come out of the studio tomorrow when you guys start recording. If you're just joining us, it is Jazz and Beyond on 702 and Cape Talk. Remember that your comments and your voice notes are absolutely welcome on 072702 1702. And if you're out listening in Cape Town on Cape Talk, it's 072567 1567. Guido Spannocchi is in the studio, and he's an amazing saxophonist, and I'm sure the listeners would love to hear the kind of music that you play. Now, the track I'm going to play is Cavzino from your album called Perihelion.
Yes.
Okay, is that in your language?
Well, perihelion is happens twice a year. It's when the Earth is closest to the Sun, which is usually in January. And then it's aphelion is when the Earth is furthest away from the Sun. And cafezinho is Portuguese, and it means little coffee. And at some point I was touring Brazil. That was in 2018, and I wrote this tune. And there's also a big Brazilian community in the area of London where I live. And it's one of those areas where you can still find a small coffee like an espresso for a fair amount of money. Otherwise in London it gets a bit expensive.
So you are a coffee lover?
Well, I think I have to admit this now publicly. Unfortunately, yes, I
am a coffee lover too. So this is the music of Guido Spannocchi, and this is a track called Cavzino. You wake up in the morning, you have your espresso, your coffee, and this is exactly how you feel. The music of Guido Spannocchi on Jazz and Beyond. Cavzino is what you should have first thing in the morning as us lovers of coffee. I love this, absolutely. I'll play it first thing in the morning. You know, I mentioned that you have a bold approach to jazz music. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, I would say I'm more like beyond, you know, since we're on Jazz and Beyond.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think I don't think in genre. I think in music, and I make the music I like to make. So I leave it to journalists and others to then define the genres. I don't really feel comfortable being pinned down by one thing or another. And a lot of my music is inspired by traveling. I've been saying this throughout this tour. People say like, you're this, you're that. And I say like, no, I'm just a road dog. You know? And so things come to you, you know, like now I'm exposed to South African music. So I'm sure some of it will find its way in my compositions.
You play the bass,
alto saxophone, alto saxophone, and
mostly
baritone saxophone.
The baritone saxophone. Yeah. Even though you did study the classical flute.
Exactly, yeah.
You do play that as well.
I do play that, yeah. There's very few recordings of me doing that. Vienna, this is where I'm from, is very known for classical music. So you're exposed to that. And then it takes some time to move away from that and find it again. And I'm currently in the process of finding that again. So some of the recordings which are likely to happen next year are going to be more informed by classical music. So sometimes you have to kind of step away from things to come back to them and make them your own rather than just being informed by tradition.
And yes, the history of Austria is around, you know, the classical composers and all that. So is that why you said, I'm out of here, I'm going to London, I want some jazz?
Yeah, I think partly, I think so. What happened is that I studied at the Conservatoire in Vienna, and then I got a postgrad scholarship in Paris, and then I was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I ran out of money because Paris is a very expensive city and I didn't have much work. And then I thought I'll just move to the next expensive town, and that was London. Which was also a different world. London is very vibrant. It's big. It's an enormous city, and for me, it was just I was trying it. I thought, you know, if it doesn't work out, I might be back in Vienna after 2 weeks, and now 15 years later, I'm still there. I'm not saying it's working, but I just don't seem to be able to find my way out of it.
But was it easy though to blend yourself into the jazz culture and music and community in London?
I would say at the time, I don't know how it would be today, but at the time, this was actually yes. I would say yes, partly because I was out a lot and I met a lot of people. I was curing a heartbreak by partying an awful amount, and that meant that I was around and people got to know me quite quickly. And then within a very short time, some countries are just more permeable, so. Within a very short time, I was running my own jam and people would come through. And then after, I would say, 3-4 months, I was already kind of part of the scene and doing my things. Yeah. Wow.
In fact, I want to come back to that point of not wanting to be shelved into a particular style and genre of music, and saying you leave that to the journalist to decide to do that, because that has become quite important to a lot of musicians who just don't want to be described in one particular way because they're multidimensional in their outlook towards music. But before you answer that, you can think about it. I'd like us to take a walk in Yoyogi Park with that song, also from the same album. Was this a trip to Japan that inspired this song?
Yeah. In 2019, I was appointed, funnily enough, to Vogue Fashion Week in Tokyo.
Hello.
Yes, exactly.
Hello, Guido.
Yeah.
Moving
what
in
are you
high,
doing later tonight?
in high places.
and I was there. Also, this is funny because I was there, and at the time I was invited by Vogue, but their budget was quite small. And then there's an Austrian cultural forum who stepped in and helped me. They're also helping me right now with this.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny because sometimes they can actually help you going places, which is nice. And there in Tokyo is the biggest metropolitan area in the world, apparently. Yeah? So it's like Tokyo and Yokohama, and it's just an enormous city. So I think somewhere around 30 million people or something like that. And green space is currency, obviously. It's all concrete jungle. And there's a huge park in central Tokyo, which is called Yoyogi Park. And in Japan, the houses are so small and the walls are so thin that people don't really practice at home. It's not really well greeted to be practicing at home.
Okay.
So a lot of people, it's quite common for people to practice in parks, like musicians, actors, everyone really. And in Yoyogi Park per se, every Sunday, all sorts of circus artists, musicians, actors, painters, any art form you can imagine, they gather in this park and just do their thing. And some interact and some don't. And this is where I would hang out and practice for the shows and meet all sorts of artists. And
must be a beautiful experience to just be a voyeur there and just watch all these creative people do their thing in the park.
Yeah, it's funny. So when you walk around, so they don't necessarily do it for you. So they don't have a hat out or mask. So they just do that to you would hear someone. That kind of thing. So they're really just practicing.
Fantastic.
But you're obviously exposed to that when you walk around and you see actors practicing their plays, which is quite.
We'll have that in our picture as we hear the song as it's playing in the background. This is Guido Spannocchi. A walk in the Yoyogi Park. Now that's a walk I'd love to take in Tokyo at the Yoyogi Park. And this is what inspired Guido Spannocchi to do this song. Absolutely loved it. And let's go back to that question I asked you, Giodi, about trying to be pigeonholed by critics. Are they starting to become irrelevant now? These critics, because they half the time they clearly approach listening to music based on their own personal position and thoughts and what they like and what they believe is or is not jazz, or kind of thing. And to me, it seems like there's a rebellion from musicians that listen. We don't care what you think. This is us now. What I was then and what I will be in the future has got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I mean, music was first. Before there was any media, there was music. People were making music. We're making music together. We're singing together, playing instruments together.
Sure.
And they wouldn't care much about what to call it. And then eventually this beast arrives, which we call the music industry. Mm-hmm. And we as humans, we like categories. We like, this person is whatever, that, or this person is maybe a journalist, this person is maybe a banker, this person is maybe straight,
titles,
whatever.
Yeah,
so we like
titles to
we
to
like
people.
that as humans, and I think that's only normal. So when the music industry emerged, they were starting to put on genres so they can market that. So if you like this, you're going to like that. That means you're a jazz lover. Now, when you think about jazz, it's such a vast genre. It ranges from whatever Afrobeat to whatever traditional Zulu music. So it's like there's everything in between. So I don't think that it's not. I don't want to put journalists out of work. Let's put it that way. So I'm just concentrating on making music and making the music how I want to make it, and then I leave it to the journalists to. They should have a job too to put on some sort of
and decide
some genre.
what it is. No, I understand, but it also, I think, helps creatively now for musicians to just be free to create without the pressure of, will these people like this, or how will they critique my work? And, which publication will it fit into, or which radio show will it fit to, kind of thing. It takes that pressure out. It's like where it fits, it fits. Where it doesn't, it doesn't.
I don't think you should, as an artist, you should never think of what it does. You should think about what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. I don't think that obviously it's great when people like your stuff, but that's not what it's about. Like, you have to make art, or you might as well not do it. Yeah. Because if you want to please someone, you're always going to fall short.
Absolutely.
So, but then also it's thanks to shows like yourselves, which is Jazz and Beyond, where there's a platform for maybe other things. Then
exactly. So, because jazz is not one thing, jazz is a lot of things. So. It's influenced by so many cultures and so many other music styles that I also steal and derive from jazz. So it's beyond a linear outlook towards jazz. And so even the musicians and artists and the people we talk to are not just jazz musicians. They're people in the jazz world and community, and who are supporting what the various things that make this music possible. And so what I want to ask as we wrap up is, you're recording tomorrow with Brahebs. Thanks to him, by the way, you're here.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you, because you said to me when we were off air that you're going to play, you could record some of his compositions and some of yours. And So I'm just curious as to your contribution is to stuff that has been inspired by your stay here, or is it stuff that already was in your head and in your soul, kind of speak?
Yeah, so the project title is called, and that's Herbs who decided that, Your Song, My Song.
Oh.
Which could be also your song, obviously, or you could call it my song if you like it. So there's like this idea of having songs for people and making these songs for people. And we have been working on a few tunes over the last week, and I've written some stuff and he's put some stuff together. So we will see what comes out. It's hard to tell before, so I also don't want to put any pressure on it. If it doesn't work out, it's just a reason for me to come back.
Yeah, but how can it not work out? That's for sure. I mean, you have said that you've traveled, the world there, from Brazil to Japan to Europe and various other places. Is it your first African, the continent, visit to the continent?
No, I've been in Africa quite a few times, mostly in West Africa, like Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia, Senegal. Yeah. So
with each, visit, I'm sure you take something away with you. That then gets interpreted in your music.
Yeah, some of it is like actual musical material. So I take voice notes on my phone or on a little voice recorder and I record all sorts of jams that I do in the streets or in bars or wherever. And a lot of it is actually very mundane moments. You sit on a corner and you're having a coffee and the sun shines through the jacaranda blossom, and then that's a thing that you would probably only find around here.
Yeah.
So, and these moments often inspire me to composition. So it's not necessarily always tonal material. It's sometimes just kind of quite mundane moments that make you appreciate the world as it is.
So there's a jacaranda tree song coming up.
Maybe, yeah. It sounds a bit cheesy, but who knows?
But I will play as we wrap up. In fact, should I play, what is it, City O Mielo or Strutting in Six?
Well, I think Stomiello is, that's inspired. I would rather play that because that is inspired. That's dedicated to my grandmother, who was a seminal figure and integral figure in my life. And she had to flee twice in her life. She was displaced. And so the family has a history of refuge. And this is a song which is traditionally a Serbian folk song that we grew up singing. And people, nomadic people would sing that on the road. And so that inspired this tune.
Lots of stories to tell in the music. That's why I love, this kind of music, because there's a lot of stories and history and experiences, personal and, also communal in terms of either community or the country or the region that are told through this music. And especially when you'll hear the music, but when sometimes somebody explains, the story behind it, it's very intriguing and interesting, and it gets one to also find a way of comparing, not comparing, but also just relating to stories of where you are in the world, kind of thing. So, to your grandmother and to you, to thank you for coming through. Are we seeing you perform somewhere before you go?
I don't think so. It's just recordings tomorrow and on Tuesday, and then I'm already leaving back to foreign shores.
Dear, I'm sure you'll be back for some performances, especially when Your Song, My Song comes out.
Yes,
that project. Thanks to Guido Spannocchi, this is a track dedicated to his grandmother, Sitio Mielo.